It is negatively affecting it, unfortunately, Lindy. And, you know, the one thing that you want to be aware of is the fact that the cement industry is very significant when it comes to infrastructure and development. So the market there in Nigeria and Lagos, in Abuja and so forth and so on, those places, very critical for them to actually step up their game because international investors are looking into those particular areas, wanting to see what it is they can do to help. And so if there's constant disruption of irregularities around the cement or the building industry, it creates concern around the investor's mind, and that could definitely be a hindrance that they have to come across before actually implementing any business.
Now, of course, one of the major players in the cement game, Aliko Dangote, not only is he big in Nigeria, but also quite a substantial footprint around the continent. Now, what does he stand to lose if he's implicated in producing low-grade cement?
You know, he's welcomed the investigations by the government. He reckons that he's in good faith, and he knows that his people have put the right measures to make sure that he's good. But here's my question. My question is, you know, you're only as good as you are, Lindy, and people you hire around you start doing dodgy things. You have absolutely no control over what takes place behind your back. But I'm going to take the stand that his integrity to the government, his integrity to business, and his ethics have been quite impressive. So much so that he's won over the likes of the American investors, the likes of the European investors, and some of the Chinese as well. So he's got good standing. So he's got nothing that he can absolutely say no to that has been negative or that can reflect negatively on his business. So he has every right to say, I welcome the investigations. The question is, what will be found out, you know, under those carpets, you know, that have been there for so many years? Will that trend continue? Will there be something that they find out that is negative? And I wouldn't be so confident if I were him. I would actually just wait for the investigation to go over and keep quiet and see what comes out, and then attack it when we reach that bridge.
Well, as you mentioned, I mean, you mentioned his integrity, you mentioned his confidence.
Yeah.
He's obviously thinking what they're going to uncover is going to expose his competitors. And if that is indeed the case, he's obviously got a lot to win in this situation.
He does, Lindy. I mean, think about it this way. He's got 60% of the market share in Nigeria alone. So that means that should there be anything that's found that is regular within the other competitors of his, he might have a bigger chunk of that. And that means that he'll become more competitive, he'll become more wealthier, and maybe he'll buy a better car. But that's my assessment of that. Here's the story. You know, this businessman knows his things very well. He knows his stuff. He understands the Nigerian market. He knows that what's going to be taking place in the next 10 to 15 years in Nigeria is significant because they want to compete with South Africa when it comes to GDP number and growth. So what does he have to do? He has to make sure that there's sustainability within its own market so that the guys who are coming from outside, remember, they're not allowed to import cement. So that means that everything is done inside in Nigeria and the quality has to meet the regulations. And if they've done that, then he's got nothing to worry about. If, though, there's gaps in that system and he's paid his way through to getting things done, and I'm not saying he has, I'm just saying if that is found out to be the case, then we've got a serious problem of his integrity being lost, not just locally here in South Africa and Africa, but even in the international spectrum as well.
Well, you mentioned importing there for a moment, of government barring the import of cement. But what we're understanding now is that the use of low-grade cement is taking place because they aren't allowed to import. So the local producers are providing this low-grade cement. At what point then is it okay for local producers to be passed over in favor of imported products?
You see, I am 100% in favor of what is taking place in Nigeria in terms of making sure that the local business is supported. That's supposed to be done by each and every country in Africa to make sure that your local guys, that the local produce is used and internally, you know, because that's how you build an economy. You strengthen your pillars within the economy so that the guys can have competitiveness and they cannot go out and compete with other people outside who can do a better job perhaps. So now the problem here is, if this continues to be the case, and then there is this uncertainty about the quality that has been at question at the moment of the cement, or any other goods for that matter, Lindy, it means that you have compromised the country's standards and you have compromised the people's lives who rely on that product. And that is significantly important for us to remember. And you don't want to have a situation like that as government, because it reflects terribly on you, because you've compromised standards so that you support the local economy, yet at the same time that very compromise has compromised people's lives and safety. We don't want to see that kind of situation.
Now, Clive, overall, how does this affect Nigeria's real estate investment?
It affects them in two ways, Lindy. The first one is the fact that obviously it means that the property, you know, when you buy property because you want to invest, and you're thinking that over a period of time as you pay your mortgage or your bond, that their evaluation will grow quicker than what you're paying as a bond, so that you are able to have some sort of asset at the end of it. If that's not happening because of the quality and the durability of that particular product that you've bought, then you're not going to be a very happy investor, are you? It's sort of like almost like investing in something and then 10 years later you're told, by the way, this is actually worth R1 and not R2. So it kind of creates that kind of perception, and that's not good for an investor, and it puts negativity around them, and it can make certain that they don't actually look at that particular structure. So it will put a lot of pressure on the local market in terms of the property industry, the retail industry in terms of property, and all those guys who are shareholders within that business will be deeply, deeply, deeply hurted by the fact that this does not continue to be fixed and the investigation comes out negatively, especially for the likes of Mr. Dangote.